Okay, we've been looking at whether or not a relation is a function. We're now going to talk about some of the characteristics of our functions, and in particular the domain and the range. We have two things that we need to do here. We need to decide what is the domain and what is the range, what do those words mean, and then we need to be able to look at relations, look at functions, and actually state what the domain and range are for those specific relations that we have. So let's start with some definitions. Domain. The domain is simply the set of all the x's that you have, all the x coordinates, set of all the x values that you have in your relation. And the range is simply the set of all the y values in your relation. And you can perhaps remember this because D comes before R in the alphabet and X comes before Y. That's a little memory device. So let's look at some examples so that we can accomplish our second goal, determining the domain and range. I'll abbreviate determine. Let's start with a nice little map. We'll have some x's, and for good measure we'll just decide if we're working with relations or functions so that we can practice that a little more, and some y values, and I'm going to map this guy like that. So if I put in a 1, I can get a -1 or a 4 out. If I put in a 2, I'll get a 6 out, and if I put in a 3, I'll get a 0 out. Now, recognizing that I've got two lines coming off of an x, I can say this is not a function. This is just a relation. If I want to know my domain, I'm simply going to list my x values. My domain is, put another piece of paper here instead of trying to squeeze it in. My domain is going to be the set, squiggle brackets as I call them, 1, 2, 3. That list of numbers there. And my range is simply going to be -1, 0, 4, and 6. Nothing complicated. You write out what you've got. Let's look at another example. Let's take 9, 11, and 4, and by now you're probably picking up that we're writing our x coordinates or x values on the left and our y values on the right. We'll take a 24 and a 15. I'm going to map this one like so. Now, let's decide if this is an ordinary relation or that special kind of relation called a function. Each x has one line coming off of it, and because of that, it is a function. It's okay to have two different x's go to the same y. So this is a function, which I'm abbreviating Fn, and the domain is simply going to be the set of our x values. So that's going to be 4, 9, and 11. And the range is the set of our y values. So that's going to be 15 and 24.